Welcome in, everybody. Are you a Pokemon fan? Have you ever wondered, are Pokemon villains actually evil or are they just misguided? Well, stick around because we are going to figure out each villain and see if they're truly evil or not. Every villain in the Pokemon world had a dream. Some wanted power, some want peace, and the others, they just wanted to watch the world burn so they could come out on top and be a god. From Kanto to Paldea, we are breaking down every villain and ranking them on how evil they truly are. Not the teams, not the grunts, we're only talking about the villains in charge. So let's start at the beginning with the king of crime himself, Giovanni. So let's start with Kanto Generation 1. Giovanni is the boss of Team Rocket, and he wasn't out to reshape the world or control time. All he wanted was money, power, and control. He built a criminal empire that was stealing Pokemon, cloning them, and selling them. His ultimate goal was to dominate the world. He treated Pokemon like they were just a tool. They weren't, friends or companions. He just wanted to use them and their power. He was cold, he was simple, and he was ruthless. So is Giovanni actually evil or is he just misguided? The answer is he actually is kind of evil. So on a scale from 1 to 10, he's going to be about a 5. The reason for this is he has no respect for Pokemon life, but he does acknowledge that people can be bad, and he acknowledges that he is bad when he loses in the end. So maybe he's not a complete evildoer. He's slightly evil, but slightly misguided because he does recognize that he is bad, and to some extent, he does care about people. So moving on to Generation 2, or the Johto region, we're going to discuss a little more about why Giovanni's not necessarily as evil as people might think he is. So when he lost in Kanto and he disbanded Team Rocket, the Grunts, they weren't done. They went to Johto 3 years later. They were trying their hardest to bring back their boss because it was loyalty gone wrong. They wanted to bring him back and start the chaos all over again. So they at least had enough respect for him to try to just like coax him out of hiding and come back and lead this criminal organization. So we're not going to talk about how evil Team Rocket is as a whole, but I think this does show that Giovanni's not all evil. He just wanted power and he was misguided, but he was still a bad person. As we go into Hoenn, Generation 3, we now get two villains, Maxie and Archie. And ultimately, they could not agree on anything. Maxie was the leader of Team Magma and Archie was the leader of Team Aqua. All Maxie wanted was to grow the land. He believed more land meant more prosperity for the people. So ultimately, what does he do? He goes on a quest to awaken Groudon. He could use his ancient power to just shift the land and generate more of it, causing the seas to go away. But on the other side of that, we had Archie, the leader of Team Aqua. And his goal was literally the exact opposite, to awaken Kyogre to get rid of the land because he thought that more oceans was the key to life. Both believed they were saving the world, but in reality, were they? No, because they nearly destroyed it. Whether you played Ruby or you played Sapphire, you see, when it comes to awaken the ancient beast, both situations almost ended in complete disaster for the world. So are they evil or misguided? We're going to rate them both the same thing because they both had the same goal, just in a different way. Out of 10, they're going to be a 3. They're not trying to take over the world and they're not inherently trying to destroy it. That's just on what happens throughout the ending of their plan. They want to create a better world, but overall it just doesn't happen the way they want it to. So they're not necessarily evil, they're just more misguided. With this next evil villain, we're jumping to an entire new playing field. Now we're going into Generation 4, the Sinnoh region. So we have Cyrus. He's the leader of Team Galactic. And like I said, he's on a completely different level. He didn't want power. He didn't want cash. He didn't want the land or the sea or any of that nonsense. He wanted to erase emotions as we know it. He wanted to get rid of grief, joy, happiness, sadness, all of it. His goal was to create a brand new universe, a perfect one, without spirit, without feeling, without logic. And at the center of it, him as its god. To make this happen, he used the legendary Pokemon to try to make himself a god. So honestly, he's one of the darkest Pokemon villains that you will see through any generation. So let's ask the question, is he evil? It's a very simple answer. Yes, this man wanted to erase the entire world and make a new one with him as a god to rule over it. So yes, 10 out of 10, this man is evil. Next up on our list is going to be In and Getsus. They are the rulers of Team Plasma in the Unova region or Generation 5. First, there was In, kind, idealistic, and misguided. He believed that the Pokemon were suffering being partners with humans, so he thought that they should be liberated and just wanted to separate people and Pokemon forever. But behind him was a mastermind, Getsus. Getsus is a manipulator and a liar. He used In's beliefs to gain control over him. But what was his true plan behind using In? Like, what was he doing with that? He wanted to convince In to convince others to release their Pokemon so that in the end, he would be the only person that had Pokemon and it would be simple for him to rule the world. He didn't want peace like In did. He wanted true and utter domination. So first, let's ask, was In evil? The answer is no. In just loved Pokemon. He just wanted to separate them from humans so that they would no longer be suffering. But ultimately, he does realize that Pokemon and people, they are friends, they are companions, and he realized they can come together and they can love each other. On the other hand, we have Getsus. Is he evil? Yes. The answer is yes. He tricked In into leading Team Plasma, even propelled him to the status of a king so that he could use him for his true selfish reason. He wanted to become a dictator and be the only Pokemon trainer left in the world. So overall, we're going to say In is 1 out of 10, but Getsus is an 8 out of 10. So for Generation 6, the Kalos region, we meet Lysander. He saw the world as an ugly place full of greed and weakness, and his solution was to use an ancient weapon to destroy most of humanity. He believed he could save a few, the strong, and make the world beautiful again. His vision was extreme, and in his eyes, he truly believed he was going to be saving the world. He was going to be saving it from all the war and madness that was going on. Was he evil or was he misguided? On a scale from 1 to 10, Lysander's going to rank about a 7. Because I think if you're wanting to wipe out the planet with an ancient weapon, that ranks you a little higher on the evil scale. It's not quite trying to create an entire new universe using legendary Pokemon, but he did use a legendary Pokemon to try to use an ancient weapon. It's a whole mess. It's a whole mess in itself. But he's going to rank a 7 because in his eyes, he thought he was saving the planet. Moving on to Gen 7 in the Alola region, we had Lusamine and Guzma. Starting off with Guzma, he was the leader of Team Skull. He was loud, obnoxious, and chaotic, but he was really nothing more than just a rebellious teen. So we're just not even going to worry about him and move straight to Lusamine. Lusamine was on a whole different level than Guzma. She was the president of the Ethers Foundation, and at first she seemed nurturing, protective over her children, but behind the curtain, she was obsessed with beauty. She was possessive over her children. She would capture Pokemon and freeze them like trophies. Her goal was to open Ultra wormholes and reach the Ultra Beast, no matter the cost. She didn't care who got hurt, not even her own family. But was she evil or was she misguided? So Lusamine, we're going to give her a 6 out of 10 when it comes to being evil, because although what she did wasn't absolutely terrible, it was the fact that she really didn't care what happened to her family. I mean, what kind of person just lets something like that happen to her daughter and just have no remorse for it? So we're going to give her a 6 out of 10. Going into the Galar region, which is Generation 8, we were introduced to Chairman Rose. And Chairman Rose believed in action. He saw a problem that was on the horizon, and he only saw one way to fix it. Galar had an energy crisis, but it was set to happen in 1,000 years. Yeah, 1,000 years. So what did he do? He tried to fix it now. He was trying to wake up Eternatus so that he could solve the energy crisis all at one go. But ultimately, this was going to unleash the apocalypse. Was his goal evil? Not necessarily, but it was reckless. So he saw a problem that was facing the citizens of his region, and he wanted to solve that. So inherently, that's not bad. But he was extremely misguided on what he thought was going to solve the problem. And he's trying to solve something that's not going to happen for 1,000 years. So let's talk about, was he evil? Ultimately, no, Chairman Rose was not evil. On a scale from 1 to 10, Chairman Rose comes in at about a 4, because what he did was going to cause a lot of issues for people and Pokemon alike, but he did want to do it with good intentions. So even though he tried to save the future by destroying the present, I think he was more just misguided than evil. So the last region that we have that's been introduced into the Pokemon series is Generation 9, the Paldea region. The threat in Generation 9 isn't as prominent as it is in all the other generations, but we are introduced to AI professors Seda and Toro. They weren't human, but they were programmed by the original professors. And they were only doing what their programs said to do, and it was the dying wish of the original Seda and Toro. But for some strange reason, their missions were to bring Pokemon back from ancient times and then bring Pokemon back from the future. And when they were doing this, it ultimately started tearing apart space and time and was causing all kinds of weird issues. So it just didn't really have any conscience behind it, because it was AI. So it was working on one specific goal, and there was just no restraint behind it. But was it evil? So if we're going to talk about if it's evil or misguided, the original professors had a goal. They wanted to see what Pokemon were like in the past, and they wanted to see what Pokemon was like in the future, and bring them to a current time, which isn't necessarily a good idea. I mean, we all know the theory that if you travel in time, you're going to change either the past or the future, which is going to change the present. So ultimately, what they're doing isn't necessarily evil, but it's not smart. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give them a 1, because the AI could have been worse. It could have done a lot more than just try to carry out the creator's dying wish of solving this past and future Pokemon being in the present. Because ultimately, once you defeat the AI, it's done. It's over with. There's no more threat. So the AI professor Seda and Toro were mostly misguided. So as we can see, Pokemon villains weren't always necessarily a villain. They were the person that we were going up against in the generations, but they didn't always have bad intentions. So do you agree with this list that I've put together? Do you agree with me that Cyrus is the most evil villain we've ever encountered in the Pokemon generations? Let me know in the comments who you think is the most vile evildoer that we've ever seen in Pokemon. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video, and I will catch you in the next one.